Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actuary. So today's episode is for celebrating 300 subscribers. I have reached that mark in 3 months. Initially, I thought that I'd be kind of doing similar kind of videos after I reach 500 subscriber, but because I reached 300 subscriber in such a quick time, I thought as a note of appreciation, I should be making such videos. So today's video is especially important for freshers. So we are kind of going to discuss what freshers lacks and what they can do to improve so that they can get a job or they can improve their technical knowledge. And obviously, I feel that if I alone speak something about that, that might be a one-dimensional view. So we have a couple of people. So yeah, I have all my friends, and I would also like to thank them for taking out time to join me in this discussion. And that is today is a weekend, so thanks to all of them. So I'll just request them to kind of introduce them briefly, starting with maybe Rajesh and
Yeah.
Mr. Rajesh Padul and Raju in that order, and then we can go ahead with the questions.
First of all, thank you, Arpan, for inviting me. I'm Rajesh Yadav with 5 years of experience in life, currently working as a senior consulting in one of the big four. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh. Padul.
Um, Thank you, Arpan. So I have around 8 years of experience, and I'm left with one exam to qualify. And currently, I'm working in Sun Life as a manager.
Thanks, Padul. And finally, last but not the least, Raju.
Yeah, thank you, Arpan, for having me. So, my career journey has been quite diversified. I started as a software engineer in TCS, worked there for 5 years. I did my MBA. I landed up in a SBI life insurance after my MBA. Worked there for nearly 6 years. So, there only my actuarial journey started. And it was Arpan, you only who introduced me with actuarial actually. And I'm thankful to you for this. I worked in a US insurance company as well, Principal Global Services, and now I'm with PNB MetLife as a general manager. That is all about my career journey.
Thanks, everyone. So you can see, I think our experience, our panel is quite experienced in different sector. So I think that would give the freshers a good perspective, and I think all of us probably have at least 4 to 5 years of work experience. Actually, if not more, Raju probably has the maximum work experience here. So moving on, so coming straight to the topic, so that we have more time to discuss. So what are the three things that you observe in a fresher, which was not present in you when you kind of started the career? So I'll start with myself, and then I can, like, anyone can kind of pick up. So I think one of the thing that I am seeing today is they are more aware of the software knowledge that they need, maybe Excel, VBA. They are aware of that. Second thing I see is they're more also aware of the industry. Like I didn't know there is a difference between core sector. There is difference between a KPO sector. KPO and core are different. Uh, Work come from outside, etc., etc. I was not aware of that. I was just appearing for interviews, but they are also aware of that. And I think the third thing is they are more kind of aware how to clear papers. So I struggled, or I cleared the paper doing previous questions, etc. I didn't know about revision note up till a point of time, but I think freshers today are much more aware. So maybe, yeah, those are my 3 points. Maybe we'll start with Raju.
Yeah, Arpan, I totally agree. Like the qualities what you mentioned about freshers. So my experience is also very similar. So nowadays, when freshers come to industry, they have little background on the industry. They have little background on the actuarial area. They know what actuaries do, what is the actuarial subjects. Sometimes they have prepared for these their actuarial exams with the help of some coaching institutes as well. So there are some coaching institutes in the arena. I think when we started, coaching institutes were not that familiar in this arena. So they have little awareness on one front, like they are also aware of technical skills. So they have good technical skills. Sometimes they are lacking as well. It's individual to individual as well. One best thing I find in freshers that they are all hardworking people. So freshers, whatever work you give to them, they take a fresh perspective and they start working on it. They don't shy away from working long hours. So these are the good things I see in freshers, and certainly a long career ahead before them. So yeah, they are doing good, I think.
Okay, Varun.
So my experience is also a bit similar. Firstly, I would say that currently it's the all the freshers that I have seen in the industry. They have good exposure of what actuarial science is, as well as what are the different areas that they can work in. So when I started, I knew what actuarial science was, what are the skill sets required, but then I didn't had that much exposure of what pensions involves, what insurance involves. But now freshers are aware about that. So that is one thing that I see that we have, which I think I lacked when I started. And apart from that, as Raju mentioned, coaching institutes are now well aware, and I think almost all the freshers utilize those institutes to uh, either clear the exams or get the concepts familiar. So that is something that I wasn't even aware of, because I when I started actuarial science, I was not aware about any of the any actuary or anybody who is doing actuarial science. So that was something that I was lacking. And then another thing is they have a very good exposure of all the softwares nowadays. It might be because even the IFOA has bring in R in the exam courses, so that could be one reason.
Right.
Apart from that, in general, also I have seen that they are aware about the kind of softwares that will be utilized. For example, in insurance, they are aware that yes, that there's a software called Access, there's a software called Profit. So that is something that they are aware nowadays.
Right. I remember that when someone in the interview asked me, do you know what is profit? Prophet Muhammad. So I had no idea what profit was. Yeah, Rajesh.
Yeah, I think I agree with all three of you in terms of the freshers that are coming into the industry are much more aware about the industry itself. And I think coaching institutes do play a lot of a big role in that. Uh, right from like writing your first exam to the preparation to of your interview, they are, have started giving the services on those lines. Therefore, this new the freshers which come in have knowledge of the VBA or the SQL, or they have heard about Profit or Axis, or some of them have a basic understanding of the Profit, because Axis still is something which is you can only experience in once you are into the industry. But Profit is something, yeah, they read some material, do some training. So yeah, I think and the other thing is that freshers are now much more aware of what they want in their career. When I joined the industry and the actuarial, I was like, okay, I have got a job, and now I'm going to figure out how to move up the ladder, or what I want, in 2 to 3 years from now. But right from the day when they are very actually clear that, okay, these are the steps I need to take. This is the way I need to go with my career. So yeah, I think these are the things which are very different from what I had in my mind when I joined the career.
Right. Right. So now coming to the main question that would probably form the base of the discussion today. So what are the three areas that freshers currently lack in? Once again, I'll go ahead first. And first of all, I think as all of us kind of agreed that there is a lot of awareness that has been brought by the coaching center. Because of the coaching center, we got to know about asset or revision note, and these are the materials that will help you in clearing exam. However, the kind of the demerit for that was the extreme focus on clearing papers. We see advertisement by coaching center like this person cleared the paper securing all India rank one. We have seen LinkedIn profile with that name with AIR1, etc. So I think the focus has shifted from not from having technical knowledge to just clearing papers. And people I have kind of interviewed people who have scored more than 90 marks in a paper, giving absurd answers. So I think that is one area and that is also one of the reasons that I started this YouTube channel to kind of give the clarity of actual concept. The second thing I believe is sometimes they are kind of maybe somewhat related to upbringing as well, somewhat arrogant as I was in my initial days. So I'll give an example. I posted in LinkedIn about a advertisement post, and it was I mentioned that we are looking for people who has strictly 2 to 4 years of work ex. So a person kind of responded saying that send a CV to me, and when I check that CV, that person has only I think 9 or 12 months of work ex. I think sorry, one year 12 months, or 1 year 10 months, or 1 year 8 months of work ex. So it was nowhere over 2 years. So I kind of replied back to that person saying that you have not read my advertisement post. Seriously, I have mentioned strictly it should be 2 to 4 years. So that person replied back, "Look, that is the flaw in your post that I wanted to highlight, because I think after notice period my experience will be more than 2 years, and I believe that my experience is far surpasses someone who has maybe more than 2 to 3 years of work experience." So I have that, I have that email in my outlook. So I think I would not have said something like that to anyone when I was kind of a fresher, or maybe like 1 or 2 years of work experience. The third thing that I have seen is a few people are very knowledgeable, like they are doing very well. They have got exposure to a lot of good areas in actuary, also in software, but they also have tremendous pride about that, which kind of lacks them to take the feedback in areas, and that's why they become stagnant in particular areas. So I think those are the three areas that I would like to highlight. So this time we'll move from the reverse direction. Maybe start with Rajesh.
Yeah. So actually, I'm like, with the fresher when they are coming up into the industry, I think, or the job, I think the expectation is not to have a lot of technical knowledge. What we expect from them is like, if we are throwing ball towards them, are they moving in the right direction or not, instead of being able to catch it. So I think most of the freshers who are joining the companies are good in the awareness or the uh, clearing the exams. But what I think, uh, I've like, this is not a we cannot generalize this for all the freshers. But what I have seen in few of the people that are joining, that what they are lacking is the intent to learn. I'm like, they want to learn, but they do not have the intent of putting that much of hard work to
So
learn.
Rajesh, I'll just stop you there. And do you think the intent is more in clearing papers than in learning on the job?
I think, see, Arpan, with the clearing of the exams, I think it's everyone has a personal choice of moving a certain way in their career. Like, some people believe that, okay, I have got certain number of exams. Plus, the important thing is, like, now the people who are coming as a fresher have got like 8, 9 to 10 exams on their hand,
Right.
as compared to when people were joining 4 years back, they had like 3 or 4 exams. So people are taking the course, okay, I need to focus on my exam, clear my exam as soon as possible, and then I can, start learning on in the job, or focus on the other technical aspects of it. But in general, when we say like, okay, we have given you a feedback, now you have to improve on that, I've seen some sort of hesitation on putting in the extra effort or taking the complete ownership of the work. Now this is again very like, I have been exposed to like only few freshers in my whole career, and we cannot generalize this for everyone. But I have seen in like few number of people that this is an issue. Yeah, and I think this is something which is very important for anyone who in any career, be it actuarial or any. If you are you have that intent of learning, you are putting in the efforts, you are taking the feedback correctly, working on them, then you are certainly able to grow at a faster rate as compared to, if you are just not working on it. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajesh. Parul?
So I feel that the main thing that freshers lack is, again, the similar point that Rajesh talked about. Uh, they they are able to clear the exams, so that is their focus. So they just try to go through the exams and just clear it, instead of actually understanding concepts. So that is something that I feel that most of the freshers are lacking. That they don't even try to understand the concept, and they just either mug it up or just do some past papers to see a trend and then clear the exams.
Right, right.
That's the main thing I feel. And apart from that, while joining any job, their main motive is not to learn. Their main motive, I feel, is monetary benefits that they'll get. So even if they landed up in some job which doesn't have that great monetary benefits but a good learning, they will not prefer that job over the one which doesn't have that good monetary benefit, but having a good monetary benefit but not that great learning. So that is something that I feel they don't have the long-term vision as of now.
Right.
These are the main things that I feel that they are missing.
Okay. Raju.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to generalize any kind of findings on all the freshers. So everyone comes with a different perspective and different background. So, but a couple of things we need to understand for freshers, like learning is always a continuous learning. So it doesn't
Right.
happen that you complete all your papers, you become a fellow, and your learning is done. So
Right.
when I think that we become a fellow and we have no background in working in industry,
Right.
there also we will find a lot of things that we don't know and we won't be able to work on it. And
Exactly.
biggest learning starts when we enter into a corporate, when we start working on the stuffs there. So even suppose a BTech is done
Right.
and he enters into an engineering career and he finds a software engineer career that a big software is there which is written, a multinational company is operating. So when he starts debugging it, he will find that, oh my god, it's so challenging, it's so difficult, all my
Right.
BTech degree is waste. It's not helping. It's not helping me out. So the
Right.
same here in actuarial as well. So even if a fellow starts on a work, he will be a fresher only. He or she will
Right.
be a fresher. He will have to start learning everything from scratch.
Exactly.
So if that intent is missing in a fresher, that doesn't help. Another thing that people should understand, that what is the driver of learning them. So a lot of people entered into this space just hearing that it's a good
One,
career.
one, yeah, 1 crore
Compen-
package. 1 crore
yeah,
package.
compensation are very good in this field, so that's why they entered. Later on they realize that no, this is not kind of their stuff. It's all numbers, a lot of data crunching, a lot of reports, so they find it non-interesting. So they will have to figure out what is their interest, what drives them. And so these two things are quite important for them to understand. And third thing, that they should understand that learning is a collaborative effort. It's not an individual effort. So in corporate, they should collaborate with everyone and they should learn a lot. So if that intent is there, so freshers will shine everywhere.
Right, right. So kind of building on the same question. So the next question is kind of related to, are the actuaries of current generation, forget about freshers, like even those people who also have some experience, are they kind of too inclined on papers? Because I think all of us know a couple of people who are qualified actuaries, but in terms of knowledge, they are lacking, and they would not be able to solve a problem like Raju mentioned, debugging. You learn most of the coding while debugging, not by reading books or not by seeing a video, but you learn coding by debugging and coming out of difficult situation. So do you think that they are kind of maybe more focused on clearing papers, but they don't retain that knowledge, or they don't maybe uh, do what is necessary to kind of back that certification? So we'll start with, maybe this time we'll start with Parul.
So I feel for freshers, I won't say for all the freshers, but for most of the freshers that I have seen so far, they are definitely inclined towards clearing exams. But in general, over a period of time, if I say, most of them, they switch to learning instead of clearing the exams.
And Parul, about experienced people who are maybe say 4 5 years of work and they have cleared papers, but we have seen people who have become fellow, but they do not have the knowledge of a fellow, right? I mean, they would struggle in solving problems.
Right. So
Yeah.
So there are few people who have cleared all the exams, but still they don't have that sufficient knowledge. So they in turn turn up to maybe people management. So there are, but I say a lot of people don't fall into that category.
Right.
So I've seen a very small chunk for that. So mostly everybody after some years of experience, they actually start thinking about technical knowledge as well, and they start building upon that instead of just clearing the exams.
Right, because without that you will not get promoted, you will not move. Obviously, paper clearing is important to give you that base, but in order to move further up in your career, you need the practical work. It's because after 5 years down the line, no one is going to ask you, okay, tell me what is the formula for reserve. No one is going to ask you that. So they will ask you the question based on your experience. Yeah. So Raju, what is your take on this?
Yeah, so I think it comes from the previous point as well. Like
Hmm.
learning is a continuous learning. So
Right.
and passing papers is just like gives you those foundations actually,
Hmm.
so that you can learn.
Hmm.
But if you stop learning after getting the foundation, you will be at the foundation level only. So if you want to build a building, you
Hmm.
create a house, then you'll have to grow from the foundation. And this growth from the foundation comes when you start working on these problems, what actuarial problems are.
Hmm.
Uh, if anyone is focused on passing papers, that is good enough. So you
Hmm.
are building your foundation that way, but you should not ignore passing papers should not come at the cost of the actual work,
Hmm.
because it is the actual work which will give you the most learning and the practical learning. And that is what you are, even if you are a fellow and you enter into a corporate,
Hmm.
this is what you have been hired for, and this is what you have to work on. So
Right.
these are the actual problem. If you spend more time on solving these actual problems,
Hmm.
that will add to your skill set, that will add to your knowledge. It's not only the passing papers. So but passing papers is also like quite important,
Yeah.
because they give you the foundation, they give you the credentials. So
Right.
that is also equally important.
It shows that you are persistent. Like very few people can persist with 15 papers along with the other life activities that is going on. That is also an important quality to have. That like, under pressure,
Yeah,
under
yeah.
several circumstances, you are kind of living up to that challenge. Yeah. So
Correct. Agree.
yeah, Rajesh. So what is your? So I'll ask you a slightly different, maybe slightly different version of this question.
Mhm.
So do you think a person can become a good actuary even without clearing 15 papers?
I think the what we read into like what we learn through the exam definitely builds the foundation on which we build our learning. But
Hmm.
I think if someone is from, say, statistical background or mathematical background, and they start working and they are really putting in all the efforts to learn the things, I think it is very much possible for a person to perform at the same level as a person who has cleared all the exam, because I think practical knowledge surpasses the knowledge that we have from the exam.
Right.
Because what we are doing is like we are learning from our exams, implementing them into our work and trying to connect them back to what we had learned through our exams. But if
Hmm.
someone doesn't has that base of the exam, yeah, they may take a bit more time as compared to the person who is a qualified actuary. They may take a bit more time, but again, like uh, say after a period of say 5 or 7 years, maybe the difference which remains between a person who has qualified the exam and another person who has just learned from the work experience, the difference when we see the relative difference, it remains quite low. I think I'm like that's my perspective on it. And
Right. Right. Thanks, Rajesh. So, building on this question once again, so and I'll give you two perspective, and you have to kind of give me the advantage and disadvantages, or do we agree with that or not? So, it is related to training of freshers. So, obviously, especially life insurance, actual softwares are something that you cannot install in your system. One's license may cost you 8 to 10 lakhs rupees, and it also requires a lot of RAM and etc. So it has to be kind of installed in a server. Even if you are willing to, you cannot purchase Profit or GGY Access and kind of learn that on your own, as compared to maybe a general insurance, which where we are working on SAS or Python or R, which is kind of more easy and freely available software. So I have seen, I have seen job advertisement from companies where they say Profit experience is mandatory or GGY experience, Access experience is mandatory, and they are not willing to train freshers. So there would be few people who are very talented, but they don't have the Profit experience. They are good in retaining their own knowledge, but they don't know Profit. They don't have any way to kind of learn Profit or GGY Access, to be put it honestly. So do you think it is right on the part of the company not to kind of train freshers? Because the argument that most of the company people would provide is that if I train and that person leave, so I will train that person for 6 months or 7 months and then that person leave. So my entire time to train that person goes to waste, and that person has not contributed in those 6 months, and in the time that he or she was supposed to contribute, that person has left. So that is the logic that they would provide, and I have seen this especially happening in core sector. But so yeah, and the freshers obviously do not have any way to train. If you don't train freshers, how can you get experienced people? So what is your take on that? Maybe we'll start with Rajesh first.
Yeah, I think Arpan, there are a lot of factors which we need to keep in mind, like think from the company's perspective as well. Like
Mhm.
in consulting, I will say sometimes there are restrictions from the client side that they are, you have a project, particular project. The client is saying, okay, I need the person who is really experienced on it, and I'll be paying per hour this much amount for that particular person.
Right.
So the companies also have a restriction, like they are bound to hire the people who are experienced in that particular trade. But having said that,
Mhm.
yeah, it is true, like we are losing few good talents because we are only looking for people with certain software experience or certain kind of experience, because I think it doesn't take more than say for a completely new person to 2 to 3 months
Mhm.
to be able to start working on their own. I mean, like they cannot be expert in that particular skill, but they can start working on their own, start debugging things on their own. So
Mhm.
if we are completely sticking to this particular formula that okay, we only need to hire freshers and so only need to hire experienced people, and then we may lose out on a few very good resources.
True. True. So Raju, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I think possibly I have not seen such kind of incidences where freshers are not put into a profit modeling area.
Mhm.
So, but if it is happening, it's a quite myopic kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, if like somebody is fresher somewhere, everybody is fresher at some point of time.
Right.
So, if you do not train anyone in one of the technology, then how will you create a pool of experts in those areas? So
Right.
certainly, it is a fact that creating experts in these modeling softwares, whether it is GGY or Prophet or MG Alpha,
Mhm.
it takes time. It's a time-taking exercise,
Right.
and certainly companies are facing attritions as well.
Mhm.
But companies should look into that why attritions are happening with a separate glass. It's
Right.
not that they won't train a person because he or she will leave. So
Mhm.
that is not a very good logic to think about. So training should happen, and that will create a pool of resources, pool of experts, and that will help industry after all.
Right. So Parul, what's your take?
I personally haven't seen companies putting it mandatorily for freshers that they want the specific software knowledge. But if that's actually happening, I feel that is something that would impact not even the freshers, but even the companies as well, because they won't get the good resources because the pool will be very small. So
Yes. Right.
that is something that shouldn't happen. And even if they are hiring freshers who have that knowledge,
Mhm.
they won't have it at that level at which the company would need. So anyhow, they would have to train them. So I think that doesn't make sense to me.
And
Right.
also, Arpan, like one more point I would like to add
Mhm.
that little knowledge of profit is required for everyone. I think in the actuarial industry, because
Right.
how I give an example, like somebody is working in financial reporting, he has nothing to do with profit. He has
Right.
to run the profit only.
Mhm.
But the whole financial reporting system is
Mhm.
designed in such a way that ultimately they have to create those variables which goes in profit
Right. Right.
for profit runs, and accordingly the financial reporting system is designed.
Mhm.
So you will have to create those variables, you will have to take data from IT,
Mhm.
you will have to do the data crunching and create those, produce those variables. So if
Right.
you don't know how things are coded into profit, you will find it difficult to create those variables as well, similar
Yeah.
to like the shareholder reporting side.
Right.
So everyone needs some exposure of profit in actuarial industry or other modeling softwares. I mean.
Right. That's true. I mean, the unfortunate thing that I've seen is, so I think I have seen that logic that I have not been trained. So why should I train someone else? And yeah, that's how some people think. So yeah.
I think, Arpan, over here we should see like part of training and spoon feeding. Like
Mhm.
they are two different things.
Right.
If you are going to train someone, you are going to give them some inputs and let them work on their own to discover things. And
Mhm.
when you are spoon feeding someone, that's like completely telling them what to do. And if like if your seniors are completely spoon feeding you, that doesn't help with your learning. But
That's
if you have a robust training plan where you are stimulating your freshers to put in efforts on their own and try to discover things, because a lot of things we discover while uh, debugging the errors, or when we are stuck with some problem. A lot of things, a lot of learning happens that way. So yeah, if we are training someone, we must keep this thing in mind, that we are just providing them enough to feed their brain cells.
right. The idea is to kind of give some examples and not directly like in terms of actual papers. There are examples in the chapters and then there is exam style question. So the idea is not to put the fresher directly exposed to the exam style question. If you have not given example, how can you expect the fresher to kind of pick up the exam style question? It is impossible, right? Even that person who is giving that question would not be able to do that when he or she was a fresher. So the idea is, obviously, as Rajesh called out, not to spoon feed, but to give few example, maybe give 5 to 6 scenarios so that they can build on those scenarios and then they can tackle the ninth or 10th scenario on their own. So that is the logic. If you can probably train up to that level and a person is sincere enough, that person would pick up the rest of the things. And obviously, like Raju mentioned, there is a learning curve for any actual software. There is it's not easy. Those softwares are mainly written in 1970s, 1980s. Those are not as simple as Python that you can very easily understand, and you can understand the background of it, especially in software like GGOX, which is a black box. You cannot see the coding inside. So yeah, so I think there is a learning curve. You need to kind of give that time to someone before you can call that yeah, this person is not good enough.
And also, I believe that this is majorly happening in core sector because everybody working over there, they themselves have a very stretched capacity, so they don't have time even to train.
Yeah, that is poor project management or poor management on their side. That's unfortunate part, right? I mean, we believe that in Indians, when we are Indians, we believe how much we can save money, right? We don't believe in employee happiness or etc. We believe in if there is a workload for say 10 people, we'll have to get this work done by say 5 people, and that's the unfortunate part. And I saw a video of Sandeep Maheshwari where he was kind of mentioning that if you are looking for a job, you would obviously prefer a job where someone is giving you 10 lakh for your skill as compared to a job where someone is giving you 8 lakh for the same skills. But when you are hiring, you would want to hire that person who is kind of coming at 8 lakh, although you know the worth of that person is 10 lakh. So it is just in our mentality. Somehow we are kind of brought up like that. That how can we save money? Right? That's our thought process. We don't want to kind of give so that in return we might get more. But we are kind of more focused on something. That's the unfortunate part. Not all of us. I am not generalizing. Not all of us is like that, obviously. But yeah,
So
some.
Arpan,